Hi preschool! So for our activity today, I thought we would kind of make our own rainbow flowers. So I have a piece of paper, I have some glue, I've got some green markers, and I've got some different colored tissue paper. What we're going to do today is we are going to make flowers out of tissue paper, using tissue paper. And we're going to put them and glue them onto a paper. So, what I did was I ripped a little piece of the tissue paper off from one of the bigger sheets, and I'm kind of just folding it and crunching it around, and then when I think it looks good, I'm going to take the bottom of it I'm going to take my glue I'm going to put some glue on my paper, and I'm going to stick my tissue paper on. And I'm going to press it on there and hold it for a minute. That way it sticks like that. And then I have some yellow tissue paper, and sometimes when you look into flowers, they have, in the middle, they have some yellow stuff in it. Do we remember what the yellow stuff is called? Bees and butterflies like to go, and bees actually make honey out of it. And they get all the yellow powder on their feet, and then they fly away back to their honeycomb and store it. And then with butterflies, they like to go in and drink the nectar of the flower. So the yellow stuff is called pollen. So I might take a little piece of yellow and I might stick it in the middle of my flower. And take my glue, I'll put a little bit in the green flower that I've made, and then I'm going to stick my yellow little piece of tissue paper right in the middle. And look at that. It looks like the inside of a flower where the pollen is. Now, I'm going to choose a different color. Ooh, I kind of like this color. So, now I'm going to rip a piece of this color off the rest of it. Now maybe I want to make kind of a different shape with it. So maybe I want this one to be more round. So I think I'm going to kind of flatten it out and make it a little longer, like this. Then I'm going to kind of wind it into itself. And maybe, to help it stick better, I'll put a little bit of glue on one end. Like this. That way it sticks to the inside. Like that. Oh. This might be a little tricky. And you don't have to do it like this. You can make your flowers any shape you want. Okay, and then I'm gonna take some glue again, and I'm gonna put it on this end so that way it sticks. There, both sides stick now. And I want it to kind of be down here. So. I'm going to put some glue on my paper. And then I'm going to press it. That way it sticks. And see, now we have this one. What flower does this kind of remind you of? What's a flower that has lots and lots of petals and they kind of go in a circle? And sometimes they're red, sometimes they're pink or white. This flower kind of reminds me of a rose. So, what other flowers did we learn about today? Or maybe plants. What is one of the big green plants that we talked about from the book we read today that sometimes we might see on our walks, and it starts with an F? It doesn't really look like a flower, right? It's kind of big and it's got lots of big leaves, right? Ferns. Ferns are pretty cool because they're not flowers, but they're still pretty cool plants. And do we know what we need for flowers to grow? So, do we plant our flowers in the winter? Would flowers grow in the winter, do you think? I'm not sure if flowers would be able to grow in the winter. When do we usually see flowers come up? The different flowers. Do we see them in the fall, in the spring and summer? That's where I see flowers come out. Excuse me. Why do you think that you see the flowers in the spring and the summer, but you don't see them in the winter? Maybe it's too cold, right? Because remember what worms do? They dig really deep into the ground, right? Past the frozen layer. Because what happens to the ground in the wintertime? Everything gets really, really cold, so everything gets really hard. So, do you think a flower would be able to sprout out of the ground in the wintertime if the ground is really hard and cold? I don't think so either. I've made another flower. I'm gonna stick it on. And what do flowers need to grow? Just like most plants. Flowers need lots of water, right? They need water and sunlight, right? And most times it needs to be warm. And take a little bit of yellow again. Yeah. It needs to be warm out, and it needs to be sunny, and it needs lots of water. So some flowers grow in the wild, like in the woods and stuff. And then other flowers, people have gardens, right? And in their gardens, they might have flowers. So do you think that just rain will help them grow, or do you think that they might need extra water too in gardens? I think they might need a little bit of extra water. So people that have gardens, they often go out and check the plants or the vegetables and things that they're growing, and if they seem a little dry, they'll give them some water. But in the woods and things like that, it's a little different. They're not planted, they've just grown there. So they might not need as much water, and maybe just rainwater will help them grow. Do we remember from our other books we've read which little critter is very helpful for gardens and plants? Do you remember? We've read a lot about them lately. Worms, right? Do we remember why they're so good for the gardens and the different plants? Because when they make their tunnels, when they crawl through the dirt underneath, it's breaking up the soil. So they're helping the plants get more air to them. And also, when it rains, the rain goes into the tunnels, and it's easier for the plant's roots to drink the water. That's why worms are so good for the plants in the gardens. And what do worms eat? Do you remember? They eat the dead flowers and leaves, right? So taking away some of the dead plants help keep the rest of the garden healthy. That is pretty cool. I didn't know about that stuff with worms until I started reading some of our books. So I learned something new too. Do any of you have gardens at home? Maybe you help mom and dad water them. Maybe plant them. Now, remember from our book, some flowers you can just plant, right, with seeds, and then some are those bigger looking seeds, but they're not seeds. Do we remember what they're called? They're called bulbs. So you can actually go to plant stores and stuff, and sometimes they'll have the big ones that look like seeds, but they're really big, and those are called bulbs. And you can get those, and then you can plant them at home. You can dig the hole, and then you can put it in, and then cover it, and then water it, and they grow that way. And then sometimes you have flowers that grow from tiny little seeds. Do we know what other plants grow from seeds? What is something else? What are other things that we can grow in our garden besides flowers? What are some other things that we can grow? What did we try to grow last year in our garden at school? Do we remember? We tried to grow cucumbers and carrots and peas, right? And those came from seeds. So we can grow vegetables from seeds, and we can grow, I don't think we tried to grow fruits at school, but we can grow fruits from seeds. What kinds of fruits would you put in your garden if you were to make one? I would like to have, well, it's more of a bush, but they do grow fruit on them. I would love to have a berry bush, like a raspberry or a blackberry bush. Those are my favorite. I guess maybe some vegetables I'd like to grow are carrots. I like carrots a lot. And maybe some sugar snap peas. What else? What things might grow towards in the fall? Maybe towards Halloween time. They're big, and they're bumpy, and they're orange. Pumpkins, right? I think pumpkins are pretty cool. That would be cool to have in a garden. Maybe different squash, and some people grow eggplant. Do you know what eggplant is? Or what it looks like? They kind of look like cucumbers, but so one end looks kind of like a cucumber where it's skinnier, and then as it grows, the bottom part of it gets fat and rounder, and it's a dark purple. Sometimes it looks almost black. So some people grow eggplant in their gardens. That's pretty cool. So my garden looks pretty much done. So these are all my flowers that I have stuck on here using tissue paper. But what's missing? What helps the flowers grow? When you see flowers in a garden or outside that have grown out of the ground, what are they attached to? What's sticking out of the ground holding the flowers on top? And they're normally green. Different colored green. Stems, right? We're missing stems. So I'm going to take my green markers and I'm going to draw some stems on them. And you don't have to draw the stems with markers. You could use green yarn or string if you have it, and you can glue some. If you want to go outside and maybe pick some long blades of grass, you could glue them onto the paper. You don't have to draw them. I just chose markers because that's what I have at home. So I'm drawing my stems. And do most stems, are they just long, green, kind of looking like sticks? Or do some stems maybe have leaves on them? What do you think? I think some might have leaves on them sometimes. All right. Then I might draw a couple of leaves on my stems. And there, those are my stems. Look at that. That is my garden. I wonder what yours is gonna look like. Yours is probably gonna look so awesome with all of your imagination and the different shapes of the tissue papers and things like that. So I'm really excited to see what you guys make. Well, that was our activity today, and I hope you have fun doing this. And you can look at pictures on the computer, or if you have books with pictures of flowers in it, you can look at those to see the different kinds of flowers and maybe the different shapes of them if you would like. But yeah, that was our activity for today. I hope you have a good day, and I will see you tomorrow morning for circle time. Bye.